Well, hello, my loves, and happy Sunday to you. Look at this beauty. These are the supplies that we're going to be using today. And so today I am starting on a 16 by 20 birch board panel, and I'm just going to gesso my board with some chalky gesso. And I chose chalky gesso because it's nice and smooth. And I had a particular idea and look that I was going for this piece, and so I wanted it to be it has a suede feel to it. So while that's drying, I got out my 5x7 jelly plate, and I've cut out cards that are about 3x4. And I am spraying them first with some walnut ink. And I wanted that warm feel to each of the cards. And all of this is going to come together, and the story behind it is pretty amazing. So I hope you hang with me. So I've got an Inktense pencil that I was just kind of making some marks, and I'm coming back with the walnut ink and just kind of creating some pattern with my walnut ink. I'm really trying to get that kind of grungy, warm feeling. Each of these cards represents a story in what was inspiring me to create this piece. So I'm doing 6 cards to give you an idea of the process that I did for each one. And then of course I'm going to make a bunch more. So I'm using quinacridone gold, Prussian blue, Payne's gray, raw umber, and Titan buff on my jelly plate to just get some pattern and interest. And the colors that I chose were representing kind of earth and nature and natural elements that inspired this piece. So here's the Payne's gray, and I'm using the Doodle Minis stencil to just get some interest and some pattern. And just going back and forth over my 6 cards there with the colors on my brayer, and I put the Titan buff down to kind of pick up some of that grunginess that's already on my jelly plate. And I'm just going to go back and forth between the colors. This is actually a metallic gold. And the gold plays a key part in this piece because it represents the fire and the light. And you'll understand more about it in the story at the end. But that gold just, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful on those cards. Absolutely gorgeous. And I'm just getting a real natural kind of grungy feel for each one. All of the supplies will be listed on the blog, and the link to the blog is down below in the YouTube description box. And so here I get the initial design from the stencil, and then I pick up the stencil and I get the background impression, and those are actually my favorite of all. I got a little too much out there. I'm brayering off onto my journal. I put my splatter stencil down, and I picked up just specific spots, and it works perfectly for this application to get just that right splatter that I'm looking for on each one. It's perfect. So I'm going to set the jelly plate aside for a second and just kind of do a little bit of mark making and to kind of take a look at each one and see what it needs. Because I'm focusing on each one individually and making it its own wonderful piece. They're going to get cut up, but I wanted each one to kind of have its own story and pleasingness to the eye kind of thing. So I'm using a China marker, some Titan buff paint, and just kind of getting some interest. Thinking about that, I'm going to be cutting these up so that there's some interest on each part of the sheet. And I wanted to bring back more of that quinacridone gold. And the cross stencil has meaning because that is my representation of the divine. And again, that will be explained in the story at the end. So now I've got all my cards done, and I love how they look. And here's all of the other ones that I've done as well. So now I'm back to my 16 by 20 birchboard panel. I'm working again with Payne's Gray, Prussian Blue, Carbon Black, and some diazonine purple. And what I'm trying to represent is the sky at sunset, just as the sun has gone down, and you see that variation of super dark at the bottom, and it gets a little bit lighter at the top. I'm using DecoArt's fluid acrylics throughout the project just because it flows really well, it keeps the color, and I can kind of move it around real fast to get that blending that I want to get between each color. And I will come back and forth and kind of do the dance of blending those colors together to get the look that I'm wanting. I also introduced some phthalo turquoise. I wanted a little bit of that kind of turquoise in the background to just give it a little bit of interest and variation from the blues. You can see some of the purple in there. And I'm making sure to kind of get some variation because I want it to represent sky. And I know that the panel is bigger than the frame, so I apologize for that, but there just wasn't a better way to do how I'm doing it, so hopefully you get the idea. Bringing in some more of that purple just because it's so rich and yummy. Moving horizontally across the canvas to get that kind of horizon feel. And now I'm pulling it back. I'm going to spray some alcohol on here to, one, get some variation and to get some spots and different things like that, because the sky's not perfect. You see little things in the clouds and that kind of thing. So I'm just pulling it back, getting it kind of grungy and rough in my style. And so I wanted to take off just a little bit more, so I sprayed it with some alcohol and just kind of pulled off some of that paint softly. So now I'm going to put a raw umber glaze over the top, or Van Dyke brown, and glazing medium, just to, there was this haze in the sky during this event that I'll talk about at the end that had this kind of brown, cloudy, smoky feel, and that's what I was going for. All of the stencils that I used today will be on sale for the week. So here's my cards now, and I've cut them up into smaller bits. And I've left some larger, but most of them I cut, actually all of them I cut in half. And then I cut those in half and made some different shapes and smaller shapes. And I am laying them out with, I'm using gloss gel medium. And that's very different from me because I am going to be putting gold leaf down, and I don't want any haziness. I want it to be crystal clear. I want it to be shiny because that's the look I was going for to represent the event. So now that I've got all of my pieces down, I've got my gold leaf out, And I'm using a glue stick, a very non-traditional way to put your gold leaf down, but it's super easy for me to do, and I'm going to be sealing this anyway, so the gold leaf will be sealed in. And I will put, once I get all of my gold leaf down, I'll put a coat of the gloss medium over it, and then I will varnish it with another a polyacrylic, and you'll see that at the end. And so I put all of that down with my glue stick and get it stuck down, and then burnish it away with a brush. And I'm making the bottom pieces larger and the top pieces smaller, as if they are floating away. So I continually, gradually make my gold leaf areas larger and larger as I get to the bottom. I'm putting it on the board, on the pieces, all over the place, kind of balancing things out, trying to not have too straight of a pattern, but having them varied. So I've got all of my gold leaf down, and it is fantastic. I positively love it. So from here on out, I'm going to just kind of do some mark making and some personalizing to each piece. I'm going to make some marks and write words on each piece, as if I'm letting these words go, letting them go into the sky, basically. And words that I also found at this event. And I'm just going to do some mark making with my charcoal pencil, with my China marker. And I will put down some numbers with my numbers stencil and archival ink. Again, all of the symbolism in this piece is just fantastic, and I can't wait to tell you about it at the end of the video. So I hope that you enjoyed today's project. Again, all of the supplies will be listed on the blog, and the link is below in the YouTube description box. If you enjoyed today's project, please subscribe, like, ask any questions that you might have with regards to what I did today, and I will do my best to get back to you. And stick around for the conversation at the end. It is a good one. All right, my friends, I will see you next week. All right, loves, happy Sunday. Look at this beauty. I know that this was difficult to see. There just wasn't another way to do it because it's so large. But I just positively love everything about it. Oh my gosh, it's just so good. So good. So this piece has all kinds of meaning. And I just want to go into that just a little bit because I want inspiration sometimes is a hard thing to find. I paint every single day, and not every single piece is fantastic or wonderful or anything like that. But I still paint, and I paint through the ugly. And inspiration can come from so many different places, magazines or what we read or people we see. And this piece was inspired by so my husband took me to a lantern festival, and it's where you get a lantern and you light it. I am not one for adventure, let's just say that. I'm trying, but I like to have a schedule, I like to have a plan, I like to have like things to do and all that kind of stuff. So this festival was really laid back and low key, and so you walk in and you get your lantern thing, and then we had chairs and a blanket, and you just kind of park yourself. There's tiki torches all the way around this like football field, and you park yourself next to a tiki torch so that at night when it gets dark you can light your lantern. There's a stage up front, and you can listen to bands as they play, and there's all different kinds of music and different things like that, and that's really it. And everyone's just waiting for it to get dark. There's some food trucks and different things like that, but not a lot of activity. You're just kind of sitting, and I am always doing something, and so for me to stop and pause for a second is very, very hard. I need to do it more, but it takes me a minute to get like calm and not have my mind going through like what I need to do or what's next or this or that, and that's my personality. And so we get there, and I'm like, oh gosh, what are we gonna do it's 2 hours until it gets dark. And I'm like, okay, Shawn, like, let's breathe into this, be present, find the moments, all those things that you say to yourself when you're, in that moment. And so I really started to settle down, and I was just watching. I love people watching. And I was watching the interactions between families because there wasn't technology, there wasn't things. People had their phones and they were taking pictures, but there was just all kinds of conversation and all kinds of people from different backgrounds. And there was a couple sitting by us that were foreign exchange students from Brazil. Every single kind of language. It was, and when I started really kind of taking the whole thing in, it was so magical. It was beautiful. Fathers playing with their kids and moms just doing nothing, reading a book. All of this, just relaxing and waiting for this moment. So it's getting closer to dark, and the announcer gets up and he starts talking about getting your lantern out and how to do it and light it and all those kinds of things and be safe. And then he said the venue is called The Lights, and he said this is about what lights you up. And all of a sudden I'm like now super focused because now he's speaking my language. And he said, I want you to take out the pen that you were given when you got there, and I want you to write on your lantern what lights you up. What is it that really makes your heart start pounding? And I'm so into this. I'm just like, yes, and I'm writing my things. And he's like, and then I want you to write what you need to let go of. Who you need to remember. Is there someone that you want to send up to the sky? Prayers or whatever it is, and he's laying all this out, and I am just totally into it, and I'm getting goosebumps just even thinking about it. So it got real quiet because there was lots of chatter. It got real quiet, and everyone's kind of doing their thing and writing their stuff, and then it finally was time for us to light our lanterns. And you guys, this was the most inspirational, magical moment that I have felt in such a long time. I felt so connected to everyone around me, to the divine, to it just was so beautiful. So as each person started lighting their lantern, they were playing the Hallelujah song in the background. And of course, I'm just like getting teary now because it just was so beautiful. It's totally black. The tiki torches and our lanterns are the only thing that we have light with. And as people started letting them go, they were yelling and saying hooray, and there was crying. And as they went up, I could see everybody's message on their lantern. And it just brought me to tears because it was, I love you, Sissy. I'm remembering you, Mom. I want to do whatever for 2019. I want this, you know, all of these messages with these golden, beautiful lights rising up. It was such a beautiful symbol. And there's so many pieces of art from this one experience that I will continue to draw from. It was just so beautiful. And I say all of that to say this, to say, when you're searching for inspiration, whether it be with your art or your own life, tune into what's around you. Try new experiences. Look at the people that are around you and find the beauty in their journey. Even if you can't find it in your own, there's something around you, if you are present, that you will be able to find that will light you up. So this piece is a representation of all of those lights going up. And I knew that I wanted to do the gold leaf because of that bright brilliance. And the messages on those lanterns, that's why I did the jelly print with all the different things on them, because it is like a message. And so everything in here, the night sky, how it was so dark at the bottom and it kind of faded up to this gray, kind of misty. There was the smoke in the air from the lanterns, so the kind of that brown and gray in there. Everything is represented in here, and I drew from that experience to create with. And I will draw from this experience to inspire me to really live my life purposefully, to light that lantern every single day in my life and send it up to what I will call the divine, to God, and make my prayers for a better life or for whatever it is. There's just so many things that we can draw our inspiration from every single day, even in the darkest of times. There will always be some light that we can draw from, whether it be from others or from reading or music or whatever. So I just want to encourage you today, if you are needing inspiration in any part of your life, look at what's around you. Be present in the moment. And even if it's just one light in the dark, it's enough to keep you going, to give you hope, to carry you on through the next day. And then search for more and more inspiration every single moment. It's there, I promise, if we are just present. All right, my loves, I hope you have a wonderful Sunday. I hope it's restful. I hope that you are inspired and that you have a light around you that can inspire if you need it. And I hope that you always know that you are loved.